Bulky Rotom was a menace back in the day for a reason. It's very hard to take out if you don't have major super effective attacks into it in this low-powered format. And there it is on the field alongside Sneasler as the lead for Wolfe Glick. That will, of course, be the Dragonite and Sneasler on the field for Alex.
So largely what we were expecting, both that Dragon and the Rotom that we called out. And hey, you're not sure what to bring. Sneasler's always a pretty good choice. Both sides facing one another down. Both the trainers will have a look at the natures of each to try to figure out who's going to move first. But once again, we have the same nature on both sides of the field. Mostly throughout the course this weekend, both trainers have been using Adamant Sneasler. This time, look, you know what, let's both be jolly. Yeah? Remember the good time we made some time cut? Things are feeling pretty good.
Which makes sense with these two players. They're both very jolly fellows as far as we have seen on stream. Dragonite there is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve immediately, takes a fake out for its troubles, which crucially breaks the multi-scale on that Pokemon. You can see Alex knows to respect the Rotom and it goes immediately for a close combat into that Pokemon. Also activating the White Herb and boosting the speed of Sneasler with that Unburden, who will have to take this Will-O-Wisp in return.
So I think that both sides may be showing what we were expecting. Multi-scale breaking a Dragonite is nice, but like fairly likely that Tyranitar is in the back, so multi-scale may not have been all that valuable in this match anyway. Neither of the Pokemon in the field, you're really threatening a huge amount of immediate damage. And then that burn going down the Sneasler as well as the target into the Rotom. I think both sides kind of realizing similar things, right? Especially if it's Tyranitar in the back, or I guess if it's Steelix either, you want to reduce the damage of those fighting type attacks, and Rotom pretty integral, so maybe you want to not get out of there yet, but get healed up a little bit, able to survive some attacks in the turn. Maybe in a double target might even be able, not quite enough.
Yeah, there is a Dire Claw now into the Sinistcha, trying to get some damage onto whatever was going to switch in for that Sneasler. Dragonite deals a lot of damage with that Dragon Pulse. A double up would have picked up the KO on the Rotom. Instead, Alex splits damage, which means that this Rotom is able to get off the light screen. And now that Dragonite is going to be so much less useful. So here they are, both of the damage reduction options from Rotom.
And not even just the split damage, right? The hospitality from Sinistcha being really critical there. That would have been a knockout without it. So nice one move for Wolfe. Alex maybe not expecting it, or maybe thinking that Wolfe doesn't want to commit it when later in the game he's likely to want to heal his Mega Evolve Pokemon, but really pays off there. The previous game that Wolfe had played on stream, the light screen's been really important. Even though it's only Dragonite, could be important in this matchup. I kind of wonder if Dragonite likely the only special attacker, right? Is that a hint to what Wolfe might have in the back?
Well, Sinistcha switching out for Tyranitar, actually, so Steelix will be left back at home. It probably makes sense that Tyranitar gives you a few more options into some of the Pokemon on Alex's team. Another Dire Claw, but Alex has not been able to connect. And looks like Alex had the same thought, like, might be Steelix back there. What if it's Steelix back there? Going for the Flamethrower and the Dire Claw into that slot.
I feel a little bit better when he fooled us both.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely helps. But the Thunderbolt picks up some good damage onto that Sneasler, which of course is going to be so important now that we know that it is going to be the Tyranitar in the back. Even Burn, Sneasler's close combat will deal a lot of damage to that with extremely effective fighting type coverage.
Yeah, Dragonite potentially not nothing either. If you think Tyranitar's not going to go for a protector, you could add some damage from a Dragon Pulse if you wanted to. Of course, either side could also easily pick up this Rotom if it chooses to stay on the field, though. I kind of might not if I'm Alex, or it's not really doing anything.
Yeah. It could stick around, although I think another Thunderbolt plus the Sand plus the Burn would pick up the Sneasler at this point. However, Garchomp now out on the field as Dragonite will retreat, and the Mega Tyranitar now makes an appearance as Garchomp now out on the field. There is an appointment for a Protect here from the Tyranitar as it dodges the close
right on
combat.
time. Yeah, Sneasler showing up to that appointment, and maybe that Thunderbolt might be knocking it out, just like you said.
Yeah, there is good damage on to the Sneasler. Sneasler goes down thanks to the Thunderbolt, and now Garchomp on the field. Alex is going to be able to reposition here, and that Rotom has gotten a lot of value out. Got a burn on the Sneasler, eventually picked up the KO on that Sneasler and the light screen. But days are probably numbered here with the Garchomp and Basket Legion out on the field.
Yeah, the effect of that Sinistcha has really been impressive, but at this point, this is a really nice play. It's kind of wild. I was like, okay, maybe ignoring the Rotom is okay. Tyranitar burns the Protect, and while that's great to an extent where it didn't take any damage on that last trip for the close combat, now it's just a tough spot for Wolfe, right? You really want to try to protect again. Certainly not a very wise move. And then both these Pokemon are threatening a lot of damage, right? Garchomp could potentially knock out this Rotom. If you're playing it real risky, maybe you can go for a Rock Slide. I think that's probably a little too dangerous. Then enabling the Basket Legion to attack him as Tyranitar slot. Do not want to allow a Wave Crash. So Wolfe's in a really difficult position now. He's going to have to switch the Tyranitar out of battle. Can't start setting up yet.
Well, the obvious switch here is Sinistcha to bait out any type of water-type attacks from that Basket Legion or ground types from the Garchomp. Not taking the bait, instead going on the offensive against the Rotom. Again, a second Hospitality, allowing the Rotom to survive an extra turn on the field. This Rotom is getting so much value. This Sinistcha is getting so much value, and a second Will-O-Wisp connects onto the Garchomp.
Yeah, this has been really impressive by Wolfe's end, where not the way you're used to Sinistcha being used. Like, he's still kind of on the back foot, right? He's not quite got in a position where he's safe. There are a lot of threats to Tyranitar on this team, but slowly spreading those burns now. Yeah, Rotom, very weak, and you can imagine it's going to have a difficult time getting out of this one. But it's really made its mark, especially after it took so much damage early in the game. Twice now, Sinistcha has saved it, allow it to burn another Pokemon. And, you know, it tends to be a lot of players play these sort of like Sinistcha support teams really linearly. Like, oh no, I need to support my carry, but you gotta support your support that supports your carry sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, and the Rotom has really gotten so much value. It's been, I suspect Alex has just been thinking, okay, that Rotom is off the field this time. That Rotom is off the field this time, and at both times, Wolfe has been able to preserve it and get value out of it. Not just preserve it, get something out of preservation.
Yeah, perhaps this Rotom, instead of possessing a washing machine, has possessed a cat because it seems to have 9 lives.
Yeah, at least 3 at this point. It's on its 3rd. We'll see if it can do 7 more here as Sinistcha protects itself from any incoming damage. The Rock Slide from Garchomp will whiff into the Protect onto Sinistcha, but will connect onto Rotom, and now finally... Ooh!
Will it?
Okay, Rotom, I was not familiar with your game.
4 lives.
4th life
that's
for
gonna be the last
Rotom.
life.
And it's the Hydro Pump onto Garchomp. Oh boy, this Rotom is loving Wolfe Glick right now.
Yeah, it's going to go down, but it certainly did more than its share of the work. What a run by that Rotom. Wow, showing off that Pokemon once again.
And the big part of this is that it now allows potentially for the Tyranitar to have the Sinistcha support so that it can actually deal with this Basket Legion, which otherwise is in a really strong position to control the rest of this game.
Yeah, so both sides sort of having to deal with that, right? Where Wolfe still is scared of both of these Pokemon, where both of them could do reasonable damage. And Garchomp has been weakened a little bit, going to have to try to Earthquake around a Sinistcha while being burned, and also having 2 teammates that aren't, like one teammate who's not immune to Earthquake, and another who probably doesn't want to switch into battle here, being intimidated a little bit by the threat of a Rock Slide from this Tyranitar with the multi-scale broken on the Dragonite already. So sort of a tricky spot. Basket Legion certainly threatening a lot of potential damage to either of these Pokemon, but how do you connect, and can you afford to take that damage, where a knockoff here would certainly be a knockout?
Okay, that is going to be Sinistcha retreated for the Sneasler, opening up the opportunity for Hospitality to give a little bit more health back to the Tyranitar, but no protects here. That means that it is going to be exposed to a Wave Crash. The Rock Slide connects, and the Tyranitar flinches and shows that it is faster than the Basket Legion, actually. But because of the targeting that Alex has put out, only targeting down the Sneasler and not enough damage to actually pick up that KO with only 1 ally fainted.
It does get some critical damage down, and Sneasler now going to be able to threaten a Fake Out into either of these Pokemon. The Basket Legion is a Citrus Berry variant, so no Focus Sash to have broken from the sand, but probably in knockout range of a knockoff. All the same, though, could pick up the Sinistcha with an Aqua Jet first, given the opportunity.
Yeah, the Sneasler out on the field,
yes,
although it does have the opportunity
many S Pokemon
to fake out the Garchomp and at least protect the Tyranitar a little bit more. Outspeeding the Basket Legion, I think, is probably surprising to both, to me. It's probably surprising to Alex, although you do see the Jolly on Tyranitar, but it's still
very
a lot of investment.
Yeah, a little different Tyranitar than I think most of us are used to seeing, even for the Mega.
Ooh, and Sneasler survives after the rough skin, so gets the Fake Out down onto the Garchomp, thanks to the Aqua Jet, but now this Tyranitar gets to do whatever it wants. All targets have been used. The knockoff now connects onto Basket Legion. That is an easy KO because it already outspeeds the Basket Legion with that Jolly nature, that Jolly stat alignment. No need to waste time going for Dragon Dances, and you could just go for the knockoff, and now Wolfe is in a great spot.
Yeah, Sinister going to be able to come in, heal up the Tyranitar a little bit, protect it, and with that burned Garchomp, going to be pretty difficult to do too much with Earthquake. So just have to pick off this Dragonite, and Wolfe could be looking at taking game one. A very strange game, but that Rotom is so difficult to knock out of the field, really making it difficult for these physical attackers to take down this Tyranitar, even though the Light Screen wound up being, I think, completely ineffective.
Yeah, I don't know that there, maybe one attack went through the Light Screen from the Dragonite, but Rotom just got so much value. 2 burns, 2 Thunderbolts into the Sneasler, also the Hydro Pump into the Garchomp, bringing it so low. That is the true carry right here.
Yeah, the only thing that's tricky is I assume a knockoff is not going to be with the Dragonite because you cannot knock off a Mega Stone. So Wolfe likely will have to hit his Rock Slide this time at least once, unlike the last time we saw him on stream. But pretty serious advantage. That's because there's a Rock Slide going the other direction this time. And, the faster Rock Slide is always the scariest one.
Yeah, there's the Rock Slide coming out from Garchomp. The Flamethrower from Mega Dragonite is now enough to pick up the KO on Sinistcha with no more Light Screen on the field. So now this Tyranitar doesn't get to move again. A second flinch on the Tyranitar here, which means that this Dragonite is safe for another turn.
Yeah, things are starting to get a little spooky for Wolfe there, where he almost had it locked up, but does need to connect at least that one Rock Slide. Also, no longer has the sand up, so he's going to take not just failing to have the reduced damage from Light Screen, but also from its own Sand Stream. So we see the Earthquake coming from the Garchomp, no protect from the Tyranitar. I kind of wonder if he might try to stall for burn damage.
Yeah, Alex has decided to just go for as much damage as possible, trying to get the KO on this Tyranitar right now. There's the Dragon Pulse coming out from the Dragonite, not enough to pick up the KO onto Tyranitar, and Tyranitar goes for the Dragon Dance. One Rock Slide, not going to be enough, Wolfe says, to KO this Dragonite. I need the Dragon Dance, I need the extra power, and I need potentially to be faster and maybe get bailed by a flinch if I don't pick up the KO.
Yeah, it's going to be real close, I think, but now faster, going to do more damage, and also critically getting fast enough, he doesn't have to worry about getting flinched himself.
Absolutely. After getting flinched twice already from Garchomp's Rock Slide, now it is Tyranitar who Rock Slides. Garchomp goes down and Dragonite goes down. The Dragon Dance takes out the Dragon, and Tyranitar gives Wolfe a victory in game one.
Incredibly close game there by both of these incredible traders. Could have gone either way in the last turn, but Mega Tyranitar once again just able to clutch it out. Dragon Dance getting it just a step ahead on the dance floor.
Yeah, what a big tournament for Dragon Dance so far. Obviously, we had the Dragon Dance Gyarados looking pretty good earlier on in Top Cut, and now this is the second time we have seen this, well, the second match that we've seen this Dragon Dance Mega Tyranitar really show its strength. And I think people are so used to, no disrespect to our co-caster and good friend Len Duel, are so used to the really bulky, especially defensive Tyranitars with Assault Vest previously. People forgot Tyranitar does damage.
Yeah, especially even in this format, right? Where I think throughout the course of at least the online portion of folks learning this regulation, we've seen a lot of like Adamant 3 attack Mega Tyranitar. So for me, it's like I'm a little surprised sometimes at how little damage Wolfe's Tyranitar does relative to its attack boost, because it's built a little bit differently than is normal. But getting faster has been very impactful in all the games we've seen from him so far. Plenty of damage there. It's not like you needed a critical hit or anything. And also, like, that Rock Slide's been pretty critical in both directions so far in a lot of games that we've seen. So getting quick enough, you don't have to worry about a flinch is its own reward.
Absolutely. Alex probably needs to go back to the drawing board, but it's unclear to what, because those did seem like the right Pokemon here, and the Dragonite, really don't want to leave that at home just in case.
Hey, there's that Talonflame. It's real.
Let's go. Show it. What does this Pokemon do? I want to know. There is the sand on the field alongside the Talonflame, so it does have to go for an attack, or else it will lose access to its Gale Wings, unless it gets healed back up again.
Right, yeah, we've heard legends, as we were hearing in the lounge earlier, of the idea of using Sinistcha to reactivate Gale Wings, despite having kind of the natural anti-synergy of this Tyranitar, who is passively going to break it, even if he doesn't get faked out. So usually two Pokemon that hate being at a team together, but we saw Sinistcha do such a great job of supporting Rotom instead of Tyranitar in that first game, and instead now Talonflame offering a little switch up here. Something to keep in mind. I think something Alex will be considering as well, but regardless, Talonflame potentially threatening a ton of damage into Sneasler. Doesn't want to be hit by these fast-flying type attacks, and a little different look once again from Wolfe. Seems like every time he's on stream, he shows us something different.
Yeah, there are so many different tricks to this team that Wolfe has shown. Garchomp switches in instead of the Dragonite here, as the Tyranitar will go ahead and Mega Evolve. So Wolfe immediately setting up the offensive pressure from the Tyranitar. Talonflame goes for a protect here, does not want to take any additional damage, and actually a double protect coming out here from Wolfe. So that Talonflame will take some sand damage at the expense of, the benefit of avoiding a fake out this turn.
Yeah, so lose the Gale Wings here, but it's possible the Talonflame is still quicker anyway, though. We've seen, again, as we mentioned previously, both the Sneasler are jolly in this matchup, so a lot of very speedy Pokemon, maybe ready for this metagame, which seems to be just trading knockouts back and forth. Tyranitar also going for the Mega Evolution there. I think whether it stays in or not in this turn, certainly being threatened by a lot of damage there, probably relatively unlikely it's going to want to do that. We'll make it a little safer if it's switching back in later in the battle, get all those boosted stats from Mega Evolution, where Wolfe, such a cycling-friendly player, you might want to have Tyranitar be as bulky as you can, since, it'll go in and out. It does a little metaphorical dancing before perhaps doing the literal dancing later on.
Well, it is the King on the floor now. King Gambit has swapped out for the Sneasler to tank this Brave Bird from Talonflame. With the Sharp Beak as well, deals a little bit of extra damage, takes some recoil, will take a lot of damage from this Rock Slide on Garchomp. That's enough to pick up the KO onto Talonflame. But Tyranitar is still on the field, has not moved yet, may have the opportunity to set up another Dragon Dance here, and it does. What the Talonflame was able to do was scare off the Sneasler for one turn for this Tyranitar to get a Dragon Dance. Yeah, I mean, it's not nothing, but not a great trade. Sneasler to come out here and threaten a bunch of damage the other direction. It's like, I too can threaten a fighting move into a doubly fighting weak Pokemon, but I don't know if one Dragon Dance is kind of what you want enough to trade a Pokemon for. We saw how integral all the Pokemon on Wolfe's team were in that game one, and that's a lot of resource to give up here. We saw also in one of Wolfe's previous stream matches that he had 2 levels of boosted attack to almost KO that Garchomp. I believe that one was a little bit bulkier than this one, just trying to eyeball it. But, at the very least, one Dragon Dance is not going to be enough for knockoff to pick up this Garchomp. So, strange situation. We'll see how Wolfe wants to play it. Is threatening a fake out to either of his slots, or if he's really feeling cheeky at close combat. Yeah, and this is the Black Glasses King Gambit, but it's the Black Glasses King Gambit that also has Iron Head. So, it cannot be safely ignored on Wolfe's side. Tyranitar does go for a knockoff into the Garchomp, trying to get that Pokemon off the field. It is the close combat now from Sneasler into the King Gambit. No Troupple Berry. That means that King Gambit goes down. So the Garchomp was able to protect itself from damage from this Tyranitar, and critically able to hold on to its Roselli Berry instead of getting knocked out. But that's actually just going to mean now another free switch in for Alex here. The Sneasler could pop in here, or it could be the Dragonite. Now, the Sneasler, speaking of which, is now going to be much quicker on Wolfe's side of the field if they're unburdened, though Sneasler going to come in and threaten a fake out on both these Pokemon. Of course, well, the Garchomp just protected in the previous turn. Neither of Wolfe's Pokemon did, so there's the option of just protecting your way through this move, which there isn't like a super clear answer to it. And Alex's side, he doesn't have any stat boosting moves of his own. I could use his opportunity to get the Dragonite into battle, but probably don't want to do that. There's still 2 more turns of the Sandstorm, so if Dragonite were to switch in now, it would have its multi-scale broken. Yeah, and it is totally safe for Wolfe to just go for a double protect here on Sneasler and Tyranitar. There are no buffs that Alex could do here, and you do have the Unburden boost, but instead Wolfe's going to go ahead and switch out the Sneasler for the Sinistcha, going to heal back up the little bit of chip damage that Tyranitar has taken, as well as avoid additional damage onto the Sneasler. Will still protect the Tyranitar with that protect. Yeah, I'll say, I actually think this is a very good play, because I don't think it was safe for Wolfe to leave those Pokemon in double protected. The problem would have been, what do you do next turn? You have Sneasler who's just protected, you have Tyranitar who's just protected, you're facing down your own Sneasler. Both your Pokemon are in a ton of threat here where they're getting threatened. I think it's a very difficult turn to play. So Wolfe instead getting Sinistcha in here, staying a step ahead. And now, even though this Garchomp isn't burned, it's sort of an awkward spot where you can't take both a close combat and Earthquake, because Garchomp would knock out his partner to do that. So Sinistcha potentially protecting Tyranitar, and if instead it's just an Earthquake coming out with a Dragonite switch, and that's going to be enough to knock this Tyranitar out, which maybe gives you an option to go for that second Dragon Dance. Yeah, absolutely. And if we have seen one thing about Wolfe when he has this Tyranitar out, he is always looking for an opportunity to get that second Dragon Dance, or the third Dragon Dance. Sinistcha goes ahead and goes for the Rage Powder knockoff onto the Garchomp. Not enough to pick up the KO in one shot. Would have needed the second Dragon Dance for that, but does deal good damage. Dragon Claw connects onto Sinistcha. Not enough to pick up the KO, is enough to activate the Citrus Berry and heal back all of the damage it just took. And with that redirection, no damage onto Tyranitar. Totally safe here, but got so much damage down onto Garchomp.
sort of a scary spot now where, you know, certainly Sneasler not going to be able to do a whole lot to a Sinistcha, but uses Rage Powder now, and on Wolf's side of the field, you're getting real close to the point where Rock Slide might be able to pick up a knockout like Garchomp. I think if you get to that point, it's going to be very difficult for Alex to maneuver. Probably going to take a number of turns for Sneasler to burn through his Sinistcha, barring some added effect from Dire Claw speeding things up.
Yeah, well, that is always an option for the Sneasler, although it has become much less of an option here in Champions than before. And without the, this is going to be the Unburden variant of Sneasler, so not even getting the additional poison chance from Poison Touch, which you do sometimes see on Focus Sash versions. Tyranitar there will go ahead and just protect itself from this turn. Garchomp, again, focusing down the Sinistcha, dealing that damage with the Dragon Claw, but correctly identifying that the if you just protect, your Tyranitar is still safe and you just get to launch a Machagacha. Why worry about a Rock Slide here and potentially open up an attack from the Garchomp or the Sneasler? Just go for the Machagacha. Sinistcha's safe. It's going to heal all that right back up.
Yeah, and then now it continues to put Alex in a really tough spot here. It's going to be down to 2 Pokemon. Dragonite has to come out. And now what, right? Where you really don't want to get hit by a Rock Slide on this Dragonite, even though I believe Multiscale is still intact and the Sand Sword is expired. Yep. And things are a little bit awkward here, right? You're going to have to commit an attack from this Dragonite if you want to get Sinistcha knocked out this turn, which at least gives 1 Rock Slide for free, probably doing a bunch of damage and breaking that Multiscale. And then Wolfe at that point is looking like he's 1 big swing away. It is going to be difficult to actually achieve that, though, because, you know, I think trading that, you're likely going to lose Sinistcha, and then it's difficult to control the opposing Sneasler. So we'll have to see what these trainers do. There's still the Sneasler in the back for Wolfe as well.
Yeah, so Wolfe will be able to have fake out pressure should Sinistcha go down. The speed interactions here are very important. That Sneasler will be faster than the Dragonite, most likely just because that means that Sinistcha should be able to tank 2 attacks, leaving that Tyranitar, again, totally safe. Dragonite goes for the Protect this turn. No Mega Evolution used just yet at all. The Rage Powder comes through from Sinistcha, again redirecting fighting type attacks from the Tyranitar. There's the Rock Slide coming through. Won't do any damage to the Dragonite, and Sneasler will dodge the first Rock Slide.
Oh. And this negates that speed interaction. We get to see a critical hit. The critical hit certainly does it. The sleep matters a lot.
That's,
okay. I was going to say, the crit, not such a big deal because Sneasler would have knocked it out immediately this turn anyway, but now that it's asleep, not capable of using the Rage Powder, so immediately at close combat is being threatened into that slot, and Wolfe is suddenly in deep trouble.
Yeah, just 1 turn there from Sneasler. Getting the sleep roll onto Sinistcha is putting Wolfe in a lot of trouble. There's really no way for Tyranitar to protect itself super safely. You get to protect this 1 turn, but then what happens on the next turn? Here comes the Mega Evolution from Dragonite. Alex Underhill going to go ahead and Mega Evolve that Pokemon, giving it a significant boost to its offensive powers here and keeping the Multiscale ability. Tyranitar is forced to protect here because it cannot withstand a close combat from Sneasler, and actually calling it out. Alex Underhill close combating his own Dragonite to activate the White Herb, to activate the Unburden, so now there will be no risk of getting flinched by Rock Slides.
Yeah, going to be quicker than the opposing Sneasler. 2 lost its boost switching out of battle. So sneaky little move there. Has to trade his Multiscale to do it. But hey, he's like, I think I have checkmate with this, the Unburden boost. I don't need it. Obviously going to double protect on this fake out here and then see if he can just win the 2v2. A really bold move by Alex, but a smart move. A very predictable play by Wolfe after the sleep. He really didn't have a choice. Right? Would have been too risky to do anything else. And Alex doing a great job of taking advantage of a board that just wasn't very flexible.
Well, the Sneasler on Wolfe's side is still very healthy and does threaten fake out for this turn. So both Sneasler and Dragonite now forced to protect away from the fake out. Does open up the opportunity for another Dragon Dance on that Tyranitar, but 2 Dragon Dances aren't going to be enough to outspeed the Sneasler. Needed an extra one.
Yeah, and I don't know how you I guess at this point you just hope that somehow Sneasler can knock out its opposing number before Tyranitar's protects run out. But
you got 20%.
A lot.
You can get a paralysis, and you can get a sleep from Dire Claw onto the opposing Sneasler, and then you're back in.
Yeah, which hey, we've seen 1 Dire Claw already.
Well, there is a Protect coming out from the Mega Tyranitar on Wolfe's side. Close combat coming out from Sneasler, from Alex into the Protect. No damage here. There's the Dire Claw onto the opposing Sneasler. Does Wolfe get one of the 2 rolls he needs? He does! The paralysis connects on onto the Sneasler from the Dire Claw. Dragon Pulse comes through from Dragonite, not enough to pick up the KO onto Sneasler, and this is a disaster for Alex. If Tyranitar can land these rock slides, it's over.
Yeah, you know, Sneasler gives and Sneasler takes, and now we may be about to see that worst strategy we've ever seen. Everyone, the Paraflitch thing, not usually a real thing in competitive play, but Sneasler's been paralyzed, now the rock slide going to come down, and could be a pretty low chance of his Sneasler getting moved. Shouldn't even be so fortunate to get the chance to try with the opposing Sneasler freed up to try to dish out some damage now.
Yeah, everything changes with each of those Dire Claws. Dragonite goes down to the rock slide. Sneasler takes a large amount of damage, has a very low chance of actually being able to attack through the flinch and the paralysis, but may not even get a chance because Wolfe Sneasler goes first, picks up the KO,